Something I never thought that I would see down a mine shaft. And you know it's going to be a good mine shaft because someone came out here and built a fence around it. As you peer over the fence, there's a turtle. Well, I guess it was a turtle. It's probably more like just meat now. There ain't no rescuing that guy. Today, I'm finding gold in the old shallow leads. All the workings that you see around me here are part of a shallow lead called the and the is an incredibly rich lead at the turn of the 19th century. A shallow lead is nothing more than an ancient river course that's been covered up by topsoil and left to sit for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. To be considered a shallow lead, the pay gravels had to be within 100 feet. Big pile of rock. Over such a long period of time, the river gravels turned to a thing very similar to cement, and we call this conglomerate. Conglomerate is all the river gravels and dirt and mud that sticks together and eventually solidifies. Once a lead like the had been identified, the miners would start punching small holes like this down to the bedrock and the wash layer. Often these holes were dug by individual miners who owned small claims, but you could get a consortium of miners together to buy more claims and do major workings like this. Once the miners had identified where the pay layer was, they would send a man down with a bucket and a shovel and a pick, and he would fill those buckets up with his crew up the top with a small hand-operated winch who would lift the buckets of pay dirt out and put them aside to either be puddled later or processed on the spot. This kind of mining was only done when the ground wasn't cheap enough to work any other way. So on a place like Reedy Creek, where I go quite often, they've open cut it. They've taken from one bank to the other, from the topsoil to the bedrock, the whole way. That's because there was abundant water and also gold from the very topsoils to the bedrock. Whereas here, the gold's only on the bedrock. And like as you might be able to tell, there's no water. And you better believe that water was really precious out on the gold fields. So you didn't want to waste your time taking low-grade pay dirt to a place where you could wash it or use your precious saved water on something that wasn't going to pay the bills. You only took the premium pay layer from the very bottom. But there was a problem with that, and that is, how do you know where the pay layer actually starts? That's where it gets a bit fuzzy. Oh, you are not going to believe this. Water. You got to remember, you're working deep underground hunting for ancient river gravels like this, and you're doing it by candlelight. Ultimately what that meant was this dirt here was a mixture of the pay layer and the lower grade wash dirt above it. And that's why today I'm able to come out here with my metal detector and find little gold nuggets sitting on top of these piles because they accidentally threw out high-grade pay dirt every so often because they couldn't see it. If you find old digger holes like this, anywhere around their piles, especially where their waste dirt is a great place to check for nuggets. And if you do happen to find any kind of water source, bringing a high banker out to a place like this and running these piles or even panning might be a way of finding a lot of fine gold. A really common question I get asked is, Chris, if you've got a hole here and you got a hole just over here, why don't you dig down in between the holes or next to them and try and get down to the same pay layer? Well, there's a really simple answer for that. That's because all of this is undermined. They would sink a shaft down, but once they reach that pay layer, they would tunnel out. And the reason that the holes are so close together is because this ground is very unstable. To make a long drive underground like this runs the risk of collapse, and then ultimately death. There's no rescuing you when you're buried by thousands of tons of soil. So every time we have dug a hole down next to or between these holes, we haven't found anything because all the pay dirt is gone. It's actually sitting up here on top. And I mean, sure, they missed stuff. They didn't work every single section. But you gotta also remember, you're gonna have to dig down, even on a shallow lead, at least 20 or 30 feet before you hit the bedrock. I know that these holes look shallow today, but I promise you what you see up here is an absolute labyrinth underground. Hello, Skip. What are you doing? There are millions of kangaroos in Australia, and I never seem to be able to get them on film, so that was cool. It's at this point I should mention that not all shallow lead workings are open to prospecting. Just because you see old digger holes does not mean you have permission to go there today. I meant to be having like a mental health day off from filming, but the gold's been so good. We're out here making an impromptu video. Make sure you check with your local regulations to make sure there's no heritage overlays, national parks, or otherwise rules that will not allow you to go and prospect for gold there. I've been out on the Victorian gold fields using the Minelab's GPX 6000 for a number of months. up until now, never with headphones. And the reason for that has been pretty straightforward and simple, and that is that I usually have a service dog with me. But today I don't have her with me, and I'm using my headphones for the first time, and it has been a game changer on this machine. I've already worked every single one of these holes multiple times and pulled out a lot of gold, but today, going over exactly the same holes again, I'm finding the smallest gold that I've ever found with this machine at depth. That tiny little puglet there was down 1 inch, and I bet that wouldn't even tip the scales at a 0.05. Gold, baby. Gold. Got a shotgun pellet just there, covered my hole up. Thought this was going to be another shotgun pellet. It was down quite deep and really faint signal to start with. That's why it was on its side, and I could just barely hear it through the headphones. That is a cracking little nugget. Hell yeah. With a couple of small nuggets on the board, it was time to see if I can find a few more. I don't have my microphones with me today, unfortunately. So a shotgun pellet, and we got that gold nugget. I have a signal in between here. It sounds exactly like both of them. I'm betting it's a shotgun pellet, because if it was a second gold nugget right next to each other, oh, what a day. It's hard trying to get a gold nugget on camera because I got it first scoop, that's good. The chances are it's going to be lead. There's way more shotgun pellets than there are gold nuggets in the world, but you never know. Yeah, yep, shotgun pellet. It's gold prospecting for you. If you want to find gold, you got to be willing to dig up a lot of lead. No way. I just got a cracker, and I got it way away from workings. That's a hard rock mine, that's a hard rock mine, and then there's a gully that goes down, and that's where I found my first two pieces walking up this gully. So I found my first two bits in alluvial wash. I walked up the hill following the hard rock workings, which are scattered all over the top of this hill. They come down on this line and they come down on this line. But as you can see, I'm in a blank area. There's no dig holes just here at all. And look at this. Look at this. Look at that. That is a piece of gold. Oh, it's a good bit. It was screaming on the machine. I thought it was going to be a bit of junk. Just polishing it up with a bit of prospector's lubricant. Oh my God, look at that. That is a proper nugget. That is a proper nugget. Oh, for my area, that is a clunker. Unreal. I've been digging up lots of shotgun pellets around here, but I'll film the next one just in case. And that's just the thing about gold prospecting with a metal detector. You never know when you're going to find a piece of gold, and you never know what you're actually going to dig up. A little bit louder, very sharp though, so I'm thinking it's definitely going to be a shotgun pellet. I've dug up probably 200 shotgun pellets today. And wouldn't you know it, I dug up one of those lead-based balls that I'm so fond of. And then, wouldn't you know it, I literally just got that shotgun pellet last target, and there is something in here. I haven't seen what it is yet, but I can't see a clear shotgun pellet in there, so I thought I'd better switch the camera on while we poke around and look for things that resemble some kind of hard metal object. Whatever this is minuscule. I don't even know how I picked this up. I can't see anything in my scoop. Oh, that is the smallest bit of tin I've ever seen. Yep, more junk for a bit of flavour. Say what you want about the 6000, damn does it detect small stuff. You are not missing anything when you're out like this. That's the hard rock gold mine right there. There's no workings on this face. And this target, it's soft and it's well under the top layers of soil. In fact, we're down into the gravel, and I know you can't hear it, but I can. I'm telling you, it's still in there. That's everything I look for when it's gold, because if it's not in this top fluffy stuff, it's probably not a shotgun pellet. If it's in the gravel, not sitting on top of it, it's also probably not a shotgun pellet. Still could be, but less likely. We've got really nice gravel. Please be still in there. Please be still in there. I spent a solid 3 minutes looking for that. It's this. That is a hot rock. Look, it's just one of those days. Every time I film, it's lead. Every time I don't,
I got a
gold.
beautiful natural piece of gold sitting in situ in the dirt. Check that out. It's not too often you break open a clay clump and the nugget is just sitting there waiting for you to pluck it from the earth.
He's not very big. Not very big at all, but the wet soil is creating the halo effect where all the small target noises are amplified.
We're able to pick up these really tiny pieces of gold at reasonable depth just because the soil's wet.
That plus the headphones and we're on a real winner. Shotgun pellet, that little nugget, and now I've got a signal just here.
A little bit of a hard spot to film just here.
I got a good feeling about this one. It sounds okay, but I just jinxed it by saying I got a good feeling about it. Alright, it's in the scoop. I don't know. There's no shotgun pellet there. Try a bit of quartz. No. Check this rock. No. Check this rock. No. Check this. No. Is that it? Oh, it's gold! It's gold! Shotgun pellet, bit of gold, and my second bit of gold. I am real happy with that. Man, it's been a great day. It's been a solid day. That is a really sharp little piece of gold. That's why it sounded so like shotgun pellet-ish. Look at that. I've detected all of this before, this whole area, but just headphones and wet soil, and more gold's coming out of the ground.